All right, ladies and gentlemen, first item on the docket, let's talk about Deadlock custom build issue, where if you make a copy of a build and you edit it, you cannot auto-imbue your abilities. That's a really annoying little bug. I'm not sure how long it's going to take Valve to fix it, but it's literally been like throwing my games whenever I do unintentionally modify something in the build. Now, to sort of fix it, you could save the imbuement in the middle of a live match, so not in a training area or in the lobby itself. You kind of have to go into a bot match or a real match in order to confirm the imbuement. And then for your next playthrough, it's gonna actually work as normal. So that's the workaround. This week, I do want to talk about a manhwa I've finished reading recently or cut up to. It's called Pick Me Up Infinity Gacha. Oh, sorry, it's Infinite Gacha. It's about a young man named Han Yslat being transported into a mobile gacha game named Pick Me Up after encountering a mysterious figure in one of the in-game dungeons. At the beginning of the story, it was rather unclear if Han has been transported to a real world or if it's just a hyper-realistic virtual reality. In my opinion, the story is worth reading because of how vivid and intriguing the narrative is. Characters with strong personalities do not like suddenly lose that. No flashbacks that like suddenly give someone immense powers or power boosts. And most importantly, the title of the story does play a major role in the narrative. The typical cliches that come with playing a gacha game are not forgotten by the author. In terms of characters, our main character Han is incredibly big-brained. Despite being tossed into a world with barely any information, he was ready to scrap right off the bat. He did not waste a single second to like get prepared for the mission he was gonna embark on. Despite being the main character, Han didn't start with any unique buffs or attributes. It wasn't until later through his like development that he obtains those. In fact, Han started off as a one-star character amongst other one-star characters. Within this game world, his name has now become Han Yslat. It's actually more so that Han Sojin's mind overtake Han Yslat's body, it seems. The dynamics between the characters in the story are some of the most captivating ones I've seen in recent memory. I know I say that a lot. I use it like goddamn tissues, but dude, this one hits different, okay? Each character comes with baggage, history, and like personal preferences. No one is really safe in this story, regardless of how noble, clever, or righteous they might be. Han, being the main character, naturally assumes the role of a leader. His dynamic with his teammates is defined by strict leadership, punctuated with moment of levity. Han doesn't cut people any slack because like the world they're in is one of those survival of the fittest scenarios. Han sees himself as a very practical, calculated, or perhaps even cold character, but his companions holds a different opinion about him. Han's teammate recognize that he's not just smart and clever, but he also does care about his teammates, and they understand that it's like the situation they're in that makes Han such a tough nut, I guess. There is no clear villain in the story, at least I don't feel like there is one. Yes, clearly there's the guy that transported Han into this other world, and Han is, you know, plotting his revenge against that character. But I have reasons to believe that the story is going to play out differently than what we think. Before diving too deep into that, and to not give away too much, Han does in fact encounter the entity pretty early in the chapters again, and I believe we hear from the entity itself saying that, oh, just climb to the 100th floor and we'll send you back home, something like that. I really can't tell what the entity wants from this character, because if its goals were to just kill Han, then it could have done that already with the absurd powers that it have. You know, dragging a person from the real world into a video game, like, come on, man, that's some crazy shit, isn't it? Okay, so before talking more about the entity, I do need to explain that the video game itself revolves around climbing a tower of 100 floors, each one progressively tougher than the last. In-game facilities are unlocked as player make progression in the tower, and this is reflected in the world that Han is transported to. So it means Han's knowledge as like a player is reliable to a certain degree. We will see some deviations here and there for narrative's sake. Characters in the game have a rarity rating from 1 star to 7 star. Han himself as a player never obtained a 7 star. he has only reached as far as 6 stars. So back to the entity, I believe the entity said, yeah, reach 100th floor, you'll get to go back home. But why? Point being though is like, why does the villain want him to climb the tower? What does the entity gain from doing that? And again, without spoiling too much, each floor in the tower does seem to be like a retelling of a lost world, and the only way to clear those floors is to either recover that lost world by preventing certain events from occurring or saving an important figure. So that kind of runs counter to the whole like aesthetic that the entity is getting off. If each floor's purpose is to save a world, then by clearing the entire tower, you would think that, oh, you know, the entire universe or whatever is saved. You get the point. Now moving on to the art styles and visuals of the story. The art in the story is on the level of, damn, I should really pay to read this. Each panel is just so well colored and like framed. If I really have to nitpick, it's probably those transitional frames where characters stretch to 9 heads tall. Like, it just looks ridiculous in some of those frames. The legs are just 6 feet tall, and then like the torso is like another fucking 3 feet. Looks kind of goofy. The hype and aura moments in the story is also well placed. Early parts of the story featured a pretty repetitive selection of like hostile design, but it didn't bother me too much. Now, due to the nature of the story being a gacha game world, the artists do in fact have to design a lot of unique characters, and it's also very funny to see someone who looks cool or strong and interesting just bites the dust instantly. In terms of themes and storytelling, the story presents a pretty surprising take on how people behave in a situation where it's just like a step above from being kidnapped. All the characters, not just Han, are transported into this game lobby without any knowledge of what's happening. Only certain characters past like 4 stars or above have some degree of knowledge about the situation they're in. What makes the story especially intriguing is how a player can actually interact with the main character. Yes, you heard that right. The main character isn't just in a game-like world, he actually is able to see a player managing him. The player guides him and his companions through like story missions and like climbing the tower. This player is represented by a floating eyeball in the sky. This is explicitly stated in the story itself because the player makes IRL purchases using money, and those transactions gets relayed into the game lobby. So it's incredibly like funny to see. Now, in the MC's like real world, the mobile game made the character's interaction and human likeness as a selling point, chucking it up to a feature that utilizes super advanced AI. Now, of course, we as readers know that's probably not the truth, at least not the full truth. The story goes on to show amateur mistakes made by the player or the master, and those are represented as atrocities that occurs in the lobby. One of which I'll tell you now, is fusion. It's basically consuming a character to empower another character. Thankfully, the process is not painful, but as you know, the other character is gonna die. So it's pretty fucking war crimey if you ask me. Now, lastly, as a reminder, don't get too attached to some of these characters. They will die. There is no bullshit revival jutsu that saves these characters. There are scenarios where the characters put in real effort and they just fucking die, which sucks a lot. You know, that's what makes the story interesting. Unlike a lot of like slop out there, I feel like Pick Me Up Infinite Gacha takes itself rather seriously, or at least semi-seriously. It balances both the realism and the game-like. The story doesn't tread on a thin line. It actually walks with mad confidence and swag in what it does. Like, the story knows what it wants the reader to see. Each story arc has a clear progression, a beginning and an end. It doesn't drag on for too long for no purpose. In the 160 chapters I've read, I had more moments where I felt, yeah, that's probably how I would die, than moments where I go, yeah, that's some bullshit. I think this story is a pretty good comfort manhwa to read if you're running short on things to read. 160 chapters should last you about 2 weeks if you touch grass. Now, I know that might be difficult for some of us here, but yeah, trust me, it's gonna last you quite a bit. The story kind of dips in a certain arc because, of course, MC needs their little power-up from some old friends, but I think it's worth pushing through that. So in conclusion, I would say the story is a 8 out of 10 for me, and I really hope that we get to see one character specifically one more time before the series ends for good. Alright, let's talk about our next video topic here. I've been trying to find a way to extract music from web browsers, and that kind of led me down a rabbit hole here and there. There's a file type called M3U and M3U8, which are music playlist file types. It's a collection of URLs or perhaps reference points inside of the file that plays through the files one by one. Think of it as like a shortcut on your desktop that lets you access a program more easily, so you don't have to go through all the program files and open the program. It's kind of like that. M3U and M3U8 doesn't contain the actual files for the music, so it's literally just like 10-20 kilobytes of information. That's it. The next file type that I learned about was HLS, or HTTP Live Stream Network Protocol. So that's a protocol for streaming musics in segments. All the music segments last about 5 to 10 seconds. And honestly, I get why HSL exists, or HLS rather. It's something I would do, you know? If I'm trying to prevent people from just stealing my shit, I will break it up to small parts, add some encryption, and even if they do somehow obtain the files, they're gonna have to go through the work of assembling it and then rendering out a MP3. So it's just that extra layer of annoyingness. Again, if you're a fucking coding genius, you probably don't need to even worry about that. Oh, that leads me to talking about my next topic here, which is studying for Security Plus. I've been working for about, I would say, like a year at this point. I think I need to obtain a certificate because the work I'm doing is, I wouldn't say it's not satisfactory, but it's kind of worrisome. I don't foresee myself doing more heavy work, or at least I cannot do more heavy work until I have better knowledge of certain things. So I think, obtaining another certificate is a good step forward. For those who have not watched my videos before, I only have a A+ and a Network Plus certificate before working my current IT role. In terms of difficulty between Network Plus and A+, I feel like Network Plus is way harder. I would say it probably even outranks Security Plus. I haven't taken Security Plus tests. I've just been studying here and there. Right now, Security Plus is giving me the feeling of just a bunch of alphabet soups that you have to memorize. It's unclear to me how the PBQs are going to be like for Security Plus, but hopefully it's easier than the fucking Network Plus. Jesus Christ, that was ass. I want to complain about Security Plus though. I noticed in the study materials, there are some really repetitive stuff going on. For example, one of the domains require you to learn about, let's say, encryption, right? And then it goes in depth about what is encryption, what does it do, yada yada. And then in another unit, it's going to talk about malware. So they're going to talk about ransomware, which utilizes encryption. And then they mention the whole encryption thing again. It's it doesn't feel streamlined. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way the person was presenting the material, but yeah, it doesn't feel streamlined. Kind of forgot which point of the convo I'm in. I didn't pause the recording or anything, but my brain is just fried. So yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. I do feel like Security Plus is going to be easier just because the terminologies are much more familiar to us as common people, laymen's. We know some of these terms already just through osmosis of interacting with technology all day, every day. If you haven't been scammed or had a malware infection in your life, you're probably pretty good with security as is. Either that or you don't use technology at all, which, you know what, be my guest. It's gonna be tough living in this world not knowing a single bit about technology. Dude, now I'm gonna go on a rant. Holy shit. Dude, some of the people I see at work don't know how technology works, period. They're using Wi-Fi and they can tell me to my face that, oh, hey, I think I'm using Ethernet. How can you not know what the fuck Ethernet is after, I don't know, being on God's green earth for 30 years? They're not even boomers. They're fucking 30-year-olds. Bro, you are born at the peak of fucking NES, gaming consoles. What are we doing here? If you don't know what dial-up is, yeah, that's fair. I'll give it to you, because not even I know what the fuck dial-up is. It's just Ethernet, man. Just plug that shit in. How can you not know? There's also, somehow a person tried to plug a fucking Ethernet cord into a USB socket. That shit kind of blew my brain. I'm like, dude, the shape doesn't even look similar. Ooh, should I categorize this for the video? I don't know, man. People are whack. The only time I will give people passes, no, I shouldn't say that. I give people passes when I know for certain, it's something beyond their, knowledge, if the AWS service is down and, we can't access shit, and then people get a bit feisty, hey, why isn't this working, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, that's fair. They get annoyed, it's impacting their work, and there's no way that they understand what AWS is. like cloud services, shit like that. They don't know. I'm fine with that. Like, I'll take the brunt of it, because what else can you do? You can't educate somebody on something that they have zero practical use on. But things like fucking hardware that you could touch and feel and see and you don't know shit about, like, what the fuck are we doing here? It's just like one step above like forgetting to plug your power cord in or asking me how the fuck to shut down a computer. Oh my god, bro. I had people telling me like, does reboot mean restart? I'm like, yes. What the fuck do you think that means? Give me another definition on what rebooting means. I gotta know. Even as a fucking 8-year-old, I knew what fucking rebooting meant. Holy shit. Alright, that's enough. I don't want to end on a negative note here, so everybody just, you know, relax, enjoy your weekends, have a good fucking Sunday, because I'm posting this on Saturday, hopefully. Catch y'all soon. Alright, boys. Peace out.